Om Makradanda Mahakaya Suryakoti
Suryakoti
Samaprabha
Samaprabha Nirvignam
Nirvignam
Guru
Kuru
Me
Me
Deva
Deva
Sarvakaryeshu
Sarvakaryeshu
Sarvada
Sarvada Saraswati
Saraswati
Namastubhyam
Namastubhyam
Varade
Varade
Kamarupini
Kamarupini
Vidyarambham
Vidyam
Karishyami
Karishyami
Siddhir
Siddhir
Bhavatu Me
Me
Sada
Sada
Gurur Brahma
Brahma
Gurur
Guru
Vishnu
Vishnuhu
Gurur
Guru
Devo
Deva
Maheshwaraha
Maheshwaraha
Guru
Guru
Sakshat
Sakshat
Param
Param
Brahma
Brahma
Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri
Gurave
Gurave
Namaha
Namaha
Apara Karuna Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam
Gandharupinam
Shri
Sri
Chandrasekhara
Chandrasekhar
Gurum
Gurum
Pranamami
Pranamad
Mudanvakam
Yat Krupa
Yatkrupa Matrena Puman Purnah Prajayate Tam Bande Brahma Vidhuryam Sadgurum
Sadguru Chandrasekharam
Chandrasekharam Om Sahana Bhavatu
Sahanavadu Sahano
Sahano Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karavavahe
Karavavahem Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma
Tejasvinavadhetamastu Mavahe
Vidvishavahem Om
Om
Shanti 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 Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Atah Shashtodhyayah
अथ षष्ठोऽध्यायः
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Yukta Araviharasya Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu
युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु
Yukta Cheshtasya Yukta
युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु
Swapnavabodhasya Yogo Bhavati Dukkhaha
युक्तस्वप्नवबोधस्य युक्तस्वप्नवबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः
Yukta Swapnavabodhasya
युक्तस्वप्नवबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः
So Yuktaha referring to Yuktaha Aharaha Viharasya. Yuktaha meaning moderation. With regard to Ahara Vihara Yuktaha. Yaha Saha Yuktahara Viharaha Tasya Yuktahara Viharasya referring to the person. Yuktaha Aharaha Ahara Vihara Vihara Vishayeshu. Ahara eating Vihara recreation. Similarly Swapna sleeping, Avabodha waking. With regard to all this is Yuktaha. Saha. Similarly Yuktaha Cheshtasya, Cheshta is action, movement. Karmasu, Yukta Cheshtaha, Yaha. Saha, for him, Tasya, Yogaha Bhavati, Dukkhaha, Dukkham, Anti, removes sorrow. Samsara is a sorrow. So we are reading that. So Yuktahara Viharaha, about the food and the disciplines talked about the 17th chapter. Satvika, Rajasika, Tamasika, that with actions also. Action, tapas, puja, all these can be based on based on the three gunas. They are divided into Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika. The food also, certain food is are Tamasic food. Therefore, that is avoided. Certain foods are Rajasic. So this is can only upakara, secondary discipline. So, but these are also have to be considered. That is why it comes under the sadhana, Bhagiranga sadhana. All these are helpful for dhyana yogi who sits in meditation for him. Then we will read the topic: spiritual obsessions. Spending all one's time planning meals, for example, is definitely an obsession. Ahara, ahriyate iti ahara, food. Food can take up your entire life. It even becomes a religion for many people. Too much concern for food. That is also not good. Sometimes we have to live with what we get. One should not be obsessed. At the same time, following the regulations with regard to consumption of food in terms of quantity as well as quality. Because why quality? Because as the food, so the blood, so the body, so the mind, and so the thoughts. So prana, in fact, prana takes subtle energy of the food. Therefore, the food is rajasic. So accordingly, the prana, the mind and thoughts will be. That is why the quality of the food is talked about. And stale food and all should not be taken, either good for health nor for meditation also. At the same time, too much obsession also not good. This is the only place as I said, it is talked about the Gita as part of the sadhana. I talked about here, and of course, in the later part also in the Gita, it's talked about the food and all. So the certain importance is there with regard to what we consume. At the same time, one should not be obsessed. It is not talked about in other shastra. When the Gita is talked about, and as you said, the Gita and the Gita, maybe there, not in Yoga Shastra. Whereas for others, some form of exercise become a religion. You may eat only junk food and be obsessed with getting it out of your system by doing some aerobics for hours every day. In this way, aerobics too becomes a religion. Whole lifetimes are spent exercising. For what? There are people who exercise so much and are so tired afterwards that all they do is eat and go to sleep, only to repeat the same cycle again the next day. No activity should be given this kind of time. Therefore, Bhagavan says here, whatever the activity, it should be yuktaha, moderate, proper. The word yuktaha is moderate, proper. It is derived from the dhatu yujir. But here it means proper. Here it is in sense of proportion. Otherwise, ahara can get you and vihara also can get you. Too much of anything is not good. At the same time, not completely not eating or sleeping. Shunning food or shunning sleep also not good. Therefore, moderation. Yuktaha. What you eat and how much you eat can become an obsession. And for a spiritual seeker, eating can become a spiritual obsession. Such a person thinks that eating properly is being spiritual, whereas, in fact, eating properly is a matter of health, nothing to do with spiritual. A demon can eat properly, still accomplish all his demonic activities in a disciplined way. A thief may follow a proper diet and exercise daily, but still he continues to commit crimes. Therefore, yukta is it's a very important word here, meaning the one who has a sense of proportion in all things. The one who is yukta cheshta is karma, movement. With reference to all activities, karmasu, this is the shloka, karmasu yukta cheshtasya is one who doesn't waste his or her time fuming and fretting because there is a lot to be done. The person performs each activity deliberately, consciously, one by one. In this way, everything gets done efficiently and in the proper order. Cheshta refers to any movement, including those of the hands and the legs. Yukta Cheshta, therefore, is also a person who doesn't waste the movements of his or her limbs while performing various activities. Somebody used to say, sitting in the chair, the person may be shaking his leg. It's unnecessary activity. It's not good for health also. So, therefore, Yukta Cheshta. Not knowing that person is shaking, you will be shaking his leg. Not aware. Why one needs a sense of proportion in one's activities? We all know what happens if you want to do too many things at the same time. The end result is nothing gets done. You want to do a certain thing and suddenly you remember something else. So you leave what you're doing and go to the other activity. Then you remember something else and go off and off you go again. Some people cannot even take a bath without becoming distracted by other things. they want to do at the same time. These people are called ayukta chetaha, cheshtaha, ayukta cheshtaha, ayukta cheshtas, so ayukta cheshtaha, ayukta cheshtas, ayukta cheshta, ayukta cheshtas. Whereas ayukta cheshta does each thing that is to be done deliberately and consciously. Even the hand movements of the person are done consciously. In fact, this is what the life of a Zen master is all about. Watching his or her every moment, watching what the ants are doing and where they go becomes a form of meditation for the person. However, one need not go that far. The point being made is a sense of proportion is all in all activities is what required. So that nothing becomes an obsession. There is nothing to be gained from an obsession, but there is something to be gained from being conscious about what you do. What is gained is a sense of alertness. Thus, the word yukta means that you are conscious about what you do and you do what is to be done. In this way, there is an inner leisure that enables you to gain knowledge. So that is yuktaha. You must decide for yourself what is proper. That's the topic. The person discussed in this shloka is also called Yuktasvapnavabodaha, Yuktasvapnavabodasya, for one whom there is a sense of proportion with reference to sleep, swapna, and waking hours, avabodha. Walking is done in the waking state. In Sushupti also it's possible, somnambulist. So waking hours, avabodha. Again, please do not ask me how many hours you should sleep. That depends on the individual. So, but one has to be moderate what one thinks. According to one's the work or one's exertion, the sleep has to be. What is proper for one person is not proper for another, because the amount of sleep required depends on several factors, such as how many hours you slept as a child and your constitution, etc. Sleep for as many hours as you require. Ultimately, you need to feel fresh when you wake up from sleep, not feeling drowsy. So sufficient rest, so that the necessary actions can be taken. Meditation can be done properly. Therefore, the amount of time you sleep can be altered a little, perhaps by half an hour or 45 minutes. But changing the time you sleep by any more than this is likely to affect your whole day. You'll walk around like a zombie and be completely useless. In that sense, sleeping less is of no use. I mean, the name of moderation, not taking sleep, enough amount of sleep. Therefore, follow what your constitution tells you, body constitution tells you. It knows what it needs and tells you. If it doesn't get enough sleep, it tells you that also. If, for example, you find yourself always feeling drowsy, this may indicate that you require more sleep. You may always feel drowsy, maybe yawning, so indicate sleep is required. There is a sleep lack. We must understand that the word yukta is used very cautiously here because there is no set rule that applies to everyone all the time. Each person must decide for himself or herself. It is not correct to assume that everyone should sleep a certain number of hours. There are people who require only 5 hours sleep and others who require 6, 7, or 8 hours. It all depends on the individual's constitution. And also it depends on the type of work they do. And the last word, dukkhaha, dukkhamanti, the knowledge that destroys sorrow, that is samsara. Therefore, for the person who has a sense of proportion, yuktaha, with reference to waking and sleep, yukta swapnava bodhasya, referring to the person, that is yoga. For that person, there is yoga. Yogaha bhavati. Yoga. What kind of yoga is it? Knowledge alone. Knowledge alone destroys sorrow. Dukkha. Dukkha. Knowledge alone destroys sorrow. Because sorrow is due to ajnanam, so knowledge only can destroy. And knowledge will take place when the person follows moderation in his actions. Sattva, vibodha, eating, recreation, etc. So ultimately, it is knowledge. For the sake of knowledge, all these disciplines are to be followed. This knowledge destroys sorrow by shifting the entire vision of the person who is subject to sorrow. This shift in vision is in terms of understanding, is in terms of self-understanding, self-knowledge, seeing one's Swarupa as free from sorrow. That is knowledge. By negating the doership, kartrutva, doership, the sorrow is taken care of. Thus, the destruction of sorrow is purely in terms of jnanam alone. The knowledge is here is called yogaha. So yogaha bhavati dukkhaha. Yoga knowledge destroys sorrow. Yoga doesn't mean any other thing here. It means knowledge. Not Ashtanga yoga, not any other yoga. Because if the moderation is talked about, so therefore one may take this yoga to be Ashtanga yoga. No, it is knowledge. Knowledge alone destroys dukkha. That yoga in any other meaning can be can aid, can be helpful, can be beneficial for knowledge to take place. Can be beneficial, can be aid and help for knowledge to take place. But knowledge alone destroys samsara. Therefore, yoga to be taken as jnanamiti. So jnanam dukkham anti. Samsara. Jnanena samsara nashaha. Samsara nasha is dukkha haranam. In his commentary to this shloka, Shankara Bhagavad emphasizes that the word dukkha refers to all kinds of sorrows. Sarva samsara dukkha. Sarva samsara dukkha, janana, jara, vyadi, etc. All the shadvikara happens to be shariram, causing different the problems, jara, vyadi, etc. Everything. You may say, Swamiji, my life is all right, but the people around me are a problem. This means your life is not all right. Therefore, commit your life to the pursuit of knowledge. That will destroy all sorrow. Do not commit yourself to anything else. Not to overeating or undereating, sleeping too much or too little, or too exercising a lot or not at all. Therefore, commit yourself to moderation so that by knowledge, dukkham can be, samsara can be destroyed. So knowledge takes place only in the mind which is relaxed. So and relaxation, that is for meditation, for nididhyasanam, one has to follow moderation. For nididhyasanam to happen successfully, moderation to be followed. That is how it is connected. Everything in moderation. We must have discipline in our lives, but in the proper proportions. Yogasanas and pranayamas, for example, are all useful, but they are disciplines. They help. They help in help the person. Therefore, they are all these disciplines are useful disciplines. But this doesn't mean that you should commit your life solely to the practice of yogasanas and pranayama. As part of the Ashtanga Yoga, they are helpful in preparing the person for jnana. So therefore, yeah, for jnanam is the ultimate. For that, whatever is required, one can commit, but doesn't mean one should commit entirely to the practice of yogasana and pranayama for the sake of doing it. Nor does it mean that you should neglect such disciplines. In fact, a meditative life includes yogasana and pranayama. Yogasana, why? Because then only one can comfortably sit in asana, whatever asana one choose to sit. So the yogasana can be comfortable. One can, by yogasana, one can make the body flexible and can sit comfortably. Pranayama also, of course, for meditation, to make the mind calm to start with. So therefore, all these are helpful disciplines. Every seeker follows a certain discipline based on Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga as such, it's useful. But the end of what they talk about, in that we differ. So we take the disciplines of Ashtanga Yoga. The point being made here is that whatever discipline is followed must be kept in proportion, meaning that there is neither neglect nor over enthusiasm. Everything is to be done in moderation. And one should not become a faddist, a very common tendency in some people. Whatever they take up, that becomes a religion for them. Because there is something to know rather than do. One should not become a faddist, Bhagavan is saying here. There is something to know rather than to do. Doing is not the emphasis. Knowing is the emphasis. For the sake of knowing, knowledge, all these are done. Therefore, they are secondary. A person who is not too inactive, karmasu yukta cheshta, who is moderate in terms of what is eaten and who doesn't sleep too much or too little, one who looks after the body properly without becoming obsessive about it, usually enjoys the necessary health to enable him or her to gain self-knowledge. The human body, Sharira, was defined by Kalidasa as a basic means, sadhana for gaining moksha, health, being a basic requirement. Shariram kalu dharma sadhanam. Shariram adyam kalu dharma sadhanam. Shariram is a sadhanam, dharma sadhanam, the means for following dharma, for doing karma, and therefore following dharma. Therefore, whatever one must do to maintain proper health, one does, which implies eating, sleeping, and exercising properly. And with regard to all the other activities also. In other words, one should not be negligent about these basic requirements. How long will it take? What two questions may now arise. What is to be gained by all this, and how long will it take? Living a life of discipline coupled with meditation and contemplation, when can it be said that the person is accomplished? That's difficult. Nobody can say. It depends. Samsara is always has this question of when. Before they make a commitment, naturally, I want to know if such a lengthy, seemingly arduous pursuit is really worth the time and trouble. But here we say, having gained yourself, you don't gain anything because you are what you are. Knowing which is the greatest freedom there is. All right, you may say, this freedom implies that total acceptance and the vision that I am the whole seems to be very desirable. But when will I gain this vision? This is a common question. When will I gain this vision? How long will it take? I want to do it quickly so that I can pick up the threads of my life and continue. Again, we say this is life. There is no when or anything. There is just life. There is no life other than this. Everything subserve this. Everything is, all the other purushartha subserve this moksha purushartha. So moksha is a goal. So live the life. One need not be urgent in getting freedom. It will happen its own time. As Swami used to say, one should enjoy the journey. The path is known. The what is to be done is clear. Then let us do that and enjoy the journey. When we pay to the means, the end must come. The end definitely must come. When it will come, kalena atmani vindati. Gita itself Bhagavan says, it will come in time. When we are prepared, it will happen. So therefore, make the life by making everything subservient to this goal. So one should be committed to the end and see to that all other serves the end. Therefore, everything subserve this. Whether you do one thing or the other, a pursuit like this doesn't go away from you. It is always right there with you. You have enough material wherever you are, whatever you are doing, to be with yourself. There's a growing clarity. Yes, there's a growing clarity about this knowledge, which takes its own time. Because there are pratibandhas go away in time. It takes time. Not that knowledge takes time. Clarity takes time. Knowledge takes place, but the knowledge becomes more and more clear in a period of time. So therefore, it's a growing clarity. It doesn't matter when it will take place. Why? Because it's a pleasant journey all the way. Only something is unpleasant. Only when something is unpleasant, that's the question. How long do you have to do this? Come up. This pursuit of knowledge is not a prison sentence. It is pleasant all the way. It is Atma Vidya. It is knowledge of oneself, a knowledge that tells you how wonderful you are. No religion does this. Religions usually tell you how terrible you are, that you have to be saved. You are a sinner, therefore you have to be saved. But only Vedanta says, you are wonderful, you are whole, you are Purnaha, you don't lack anything. It is not just a consoling statement, it is the truth, the fact. the fact about oneself. So therefore, the pursuit knowledge itself is a great thing. So things will fall in place in course of time. So therefore, this knowledge tells you that you are already saved. So you don't require a savior or you don't require any other thing. So knowledge will save you. Because there is no problem. Why? Because there is no problem. The question of when doesn't arise. See, problem is there. Therefore, one has to work to solve the problem. But here, problem is not there. The problem is there. One has to work to solve the problem. There, work is involved. Therefore, time is involved. Problem is the distance. They say distance between the desired and the actual. Between the desired and the current one. The distance between the current status and the desired status. That is a problem. That's called problem. It's a gap between the desired status and the current status. But there is no problem. That is what Vedanta says. Vedanta says there is no problem. The problem is a seeming problem. Therefore, when problem itself is not there, where is the question of solving it? There is no problem. Therefore, there is no problem of, there is no question of solving it. Therefore, there is no question of when. So the question of when doesn't arise. That's what Vedanta says. There is no problem. Seeing the problem where it is not, there is ajnanam. So it's all about clarity, removal of ajnanam, and that takes place by knowledge, and the knowledge, the clarity in it, and the clarity of the vision that grows. The more, and the more we are prepared, it happens for a period of time. We get to see that. We cannot afford to miss once exposed to the Shastra. So therefore, because there is no problem here, the question of when doesn't arise at all. The question of when, that is applicable only with regard to something to be accomplished by action. Here it is knowledge. Therefore, there is no when. And knowledge also not something to be gained. It is about oneself. It is self-knowledge. There is ajnanam, there is only removal of ajnanam. As Swamiji used to say, that it is about self-embellishment. We are scrapping our ignorance. So there is no question of when. When ignorance is scrapped, and this ignorance is ignorance of the self, the knowledge happens. So all these disciplines are meant for that, for gaining clarity. After Shavanam, knowledge happens. For clarity only Nididhyasanam. So what must be addressed, however, is the condition of the person who has this knowledge, as we shall see in the next shloka. What would be the person? What would be the condition, nature of the person who has gained this knowledge? That is talked about in the next shloka. Yuktaha iti uchyate tada uchyate kada yada viniyate chittam atmanyeva utisthate nispraga sarvakamebhyaha. This is similar to the shloka in the second chapter. Pajagati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha siddhaprajnyaha tadochari tada siddhaprajnah uchyate. Same idea here. So we'll stop here. Continue. The rest plus 18th shloka. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
Dachyate
Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
Shishyate.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha.